Hi, welcome back. Does anyone know what these are? Yes, of course, they are fried spring rolls, or chai ya as we say it in Vietnamese. They're getting to be pretty world famous nowadays. They're probably on every continent, except for Antarctica. Actually, I don't even know. They probably are, I just haven't seen it with my own eyes. But they would never go bad there though, right? And there's a reason why they adorn practically every dish that comes from Vietnam. They're great as appetizers, a really good party food, or we can create a really indulgent meal at home, like we're doing today. And they freeze really well. So let me show you how I make them. Okay, so let's get some ingredients together, and these are just suggested amounts. We need about one medium carrot, half a large taro, half a small yellow onion, an ear of dried black fungus, which will need to be soaked in warm water until it's tender, and about 6 cloves of garlic. Then we'll also need glass noodles, or technically they're called bean thread noodles, as it says so in the packaging. But this is one of the most important ingredients to have, so you better not leave it out. It's what's going to soak up excess moisture in the filling so that it doesn't splatter when we're frying it, or even worse, explode on us. We'll just need one dry bundle, which we're going to soak in warm water for 10 minutes and then drain. As for the wrappers, the spring roll pastry seems to be more popular these days. I can see why people prefer them because they turn out pretty crispy too, and they're very easy to handle. On the other hand, Vietnamese spring rolls are traditionally wrapped in rice paper. In the States, we want to look for the kind that is made specifically for frying. It's going to be labeled something like for chả giò, and we'll probably have a picture of it. Anyway, here is all the vegetables all shredded up. We're also adding some white cabbage, which I didn't mention before, but it's going to be the same amount as the taro. Now, be careful when shredding the vegetables. These were all hand cut, so they don't excrete any liquid. But if there is any, make sure we get rid of it before adding it to the filling. And here are the noodles and mushrooms that have been cut up into small pieces. We'll also need 1 teaspoon of MSG, 1 tablespoon of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of ground black pepper. We are not adding any salt because we're using pork sausage this time, which already has plenty of salt in it. Usually, if we're using regular ground pork, we would start with maybe like 1 teaspoon and then gradually adjust as necessary because we always want to taste the meat before seasoning it. And then we also want to taste the filling before we wrap it all up. Start mixing everything together. Start by mixing the pork, seasoning, garlic, and onions. Then add the rest of the ingredients in the mixing bowl, but we want to toss it up first so that everything is evenly distributed before we mix it into the pork. Here is some glutinous rice flour, and it's really just sticky rice, and it doesn't contain any gluten. We're going to mix it with some water to create a glue that will seal the edges of the spring rolls. So with 1 tablespoon of flour, we're going to mix it with a 1/4 cup of fresh water. And then just going to mix it until the flour is completely dissolved. After that, we're going to cook it in the microwave in 15-second intervals until it thickens. And after each 15-second interval, we have to remove it from the microwave and mix it up. And all in all, it took me about 45 seconds, but as everybody knows, microwaves do vary. And this is the consistency we're looking for. If there are any lumps, use a fork to break it up and reincorporate it. Now we are ready to roll them up. So let's start with the spring roll pastry since it's more straightforward. Position the wrapper so that one of the corners is closest to the body, and then place just a medium amount of filling onto the wrapper. We're just going to roll it up a few times before we fold in the 2 sides. Because if we were to fold them in right away, we just only have 1 layer of the wrapper protecting the filling, whereas if we rolled it a few times, we'll have multiple layers. And also we don't want to fold them in too tight onto the filling. We're actually creating room to allow the filling to expand later on. Then paint the remaining corner with the sticky rice glue, then finish rolling it up. And it really doesn't have to be perfect, obviously, as long as the openings are sealed. We can also make smaller ones, and it's these that I love serving as appetizers. But if you can't get a hold of the smaller wrappers, here's a good hack. Just take a large wrapper and cut it in half diagonally. This time we have to fold in the two sides first. It just comes with the territory, but we're not using as much filling, so it really doesn't need that much protection. But we still want to leave some room to allow the filling to expand. Next, let's try making it with the traditional rice paper wrapper. Now we need to mix some coconut milk with tonic water. And this is essentially the same as hydrating the wrapper with regular water and then coating it with oil to keep the rolls separated. Brush the mixture onto the rough side of the rice paper, and this is going to be the outside. And then we're going to flip it over and brush it with some tonic water. That's going to be the inside. But this also has a little sugar in it from the tonic water. And the sugar could be both a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, it helps to brown and crisp up the wrapper. On the other hand, it can burn on a dime. And these will take just a little longer to soften, so we're going to hydrate them first in batches before we start wrapping. If you have a lot of space, you could do like 20 of them at a time. But here, we'll just repeat the step 2 more times before wrapping. And we'll use another plate for each sheet. So we'll hydrate 3 sheets and then wrap 3 rolls, hydrate 3 sheets and then wrap 3 rolls, etc. And don't be thrown off by the shape. We'll wrap these just like we wrapped the large pastry sheets. However, once we're finished wrapping these, we need to freeze them, I would say overnight, but basically until they're frozen solid before we can fry them. Otherwise, they'll just puff up and stick together. And like I was saying, we're using the Pedicab brand, and it just makes me cringe every time I see the logo. I mean, the rice paper is fine for eating, but it reminds me of when that guy had to transport my father and me over that bridge in Hue. I mean, I still can't believe he demanded extra money. But anyway, we are ready to fry some up. So just make sure the oil is hot when they go in. Check the temperature with a chopstick. It's fine. There should be plenty of bubbles around the chopstick. And since the ones wrapped in the pastry dough don't really stick together, we can pack them in, and they'll still come out crispy. Just keep moving them around and keep an eye on the heat. It should take about 5 to 7 minutes for them to reach a light golden color. And I love serving the small spring rolls as an appetizer with homemade Thai chili dipping sauce. Now we can pull the frozen ones out, and they will go directly into hot oil. Do not let them thaw out, otherwise we would be right back where we started. And the good news is that they don't take too much longer to fry as the other spring rolls. Just don't pack them in. And once they turn a light golden brown, drain them upright, or as upright as possible. I like to cut these into small bite-sized pieces and enjoy it with a plate of lettuce, cucumbers, and herbs and vermicelli. These are not the same vermicelli as we used earlier in the filling. Make sure these are rice vermicelli, and then just follow the cooking instructions on the package. And have some nuoc mam uk, or chili fish sauce, on the side. We can make lettuce wraps with these and dip them into the sauce, or we could drizzle the sauce over everything and eat it as a noodle plate. We could also be extra by adding some nem chua, but in any case, enjoy this decadent meal. And whenever you have some free time, make a bunch and store them in the freezer. You will want more of these. Or your guests will. I guarantee it. And Please check out my Dam Yo Feast teaser video to see the dishes I'll be sharing in the near future, including simple recipes like Mai Tai chili dipping sauce and Vietnamese chili fish sauce. I'll see you then.